Okay, guys. I got this.
Okay, well, who went last? Becky, you rolled riots.
I rolled riots.
I accidentally rolled a pandemic.
How do you even roll? Nobody's rolled pandemic in at least 100 years.
I don't know.
All right, guys.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Come on. Come on. Every woman in the world loves me. Every woman in the world loves me. Fuck!
Does that say murder hornets?
No, that's his murder mansion.
Oh, shit.
How does that work?
Well, let us tell you.
Where'd you find this fucking game, Bobby?
The back of a dungeon.
Sweet.
Hello, Free Rotation Nation. We are back to our regular scheduled programming after our pandemic, though there will be a second wave, but we'll write it out as it comes.
Guess who's back? Back again. COVID's definitely going to be back. But hey, we're all together right now.
Oh, because what's that magic ability where when you cast a spell, it comes back?
Rebound.
It rebounded. Yeah. I cast the spell and it rebounded.
I'm usually someone's rebound.
Okay.
No, it's fine. In case you forgot who we are, I am Bibby Bobbles, also known as the Hare. I'm joined by Commander-in-Chief, Angie.
Hello.
And our lawyer, Becky.
I'm just a lawyer. Hey, I'm super excited because we actually have good sound and good audio.
We do.
I mean, to be fair, our Zoom audio is fine, but there's something about our very expensive equipment that just makes it so much better.
There's something about looking at Bobby's hair that makes everything just seem
hair in person
right.
is much nicer.
Right. It's hard, and it's also not as easy to interrupt people when we're in front of each other, although we do it anyways.
Sure, okay,
True.
okay. I will look you dead in your face and interrupt you.
Well, I'm excited to be back. So
I interrupt you.
You're just so mean.
Petty is my favorite color.
I will say, it only makes sense that in a time of chaos and despair, COVID coming back, riots, protests, probably mega volcanoes, the thing we need to talk about to give everybody hope are murder mansions. I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Yee.
It's even better. It's a murder castle.
It's a murder. Yeah, that's true.
Did you see any of the pictures, Bobby?
Yeah, it looks
Oh
dope.
my God.
It looks so cool.
I want to build an entryway just like that.
So here's the thing, guys. Angie has been in our quarantine has been looking at different places around our state that we can visit that are safe, and she came across. Go ahead, Angie. You want to explain it?
A mountain mansion.
A mountain mansion.
Yeah. It's like 40 acres up in Hillbillyville.
Well, it's
Please, if you're from Summerville, don't come kill me. I enjoy your area.
Ding, 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 ding,
well,
ding.
let's talk about it. It's Satanists, sex dungeons on top of a chicken house. Creepy name for a house in the middle of the woods with no running or water and power. It's definitely not a Netflix special.
It should be.
It should be. It's Corpsewood Manor in Summerville.
Mm-hmm.
That just sounds like a fucking name of a video game location. It really does, Corpsewood Manor. I'm like, when you said that in the group chat, I'm like, there's no fucking way. Oh, this is actually a real place. God damn.
Oh, I know. I thought Angie was making it up. Last year, I got her an Atlas Obscura. No, it was a couple of years ago. I got her Atlas Obscura for her birthday or Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we were looking at different places around Georgia, and one of them was Corpsewood Manor, which I thought it's kind of like that video game, the one where it's like the house in Japan that doesn't actually exist.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But that's what I thought it was. That's what I thought this was going to be, is like where it allegedly was. Nope.
No,
actually
I had to pull
existed.
up the Google Map directions, and Becky's like, I guess it is fucking real.
This is fucking real.
Because it was like, turn left. See? Don't come to my house and kill me, Summerville residents.
But
I want to tell you how Corpsewood got its name.
All right.
And also keep in mind the road going to Corpsewood is called Dead Horse Road.
God damn it.
Because when they got there was a dead horse in the road.
It only makes sense if you're in the middle of North Georgia.
I love, like, old-timey days. And I don't really love old-timey days because for various reasons. But there's one aspect I do love. It's like, oh, there's a red house on this road. It's called Red House Road.
So there was a dead horse in the road, Dead Horse Road. And then when they started clearing out the land, they were it was fall, winter time of year, and there is a type of tree called a corpsewood because he completely sheds everything and looks just like dead trees. So they're called Corpsewood.
Right.
So Corpsewood Manor.
And the reason why we keep referencing Summerville is because this location is located. The location is outside of Somerville, Georgia. So that's located about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta, up north. If you have ever been there, which you probably never have, it is surrounded by the Chattahoochee National Forest. And in 2010, when the census came out, there was only 4,000 people living there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's in Chattooga County.
Yeah.
Which is very, very...
Oh, it's Chattooga. I kept saying Chattanooga because Bobby can't fucking read.
But the craziest part is so you think Summerville and you don't really know anything about it. Andrew's just dying at
Well, if the word's got more than 2 fucking syllables in it, my fucking brain just dies. And I'm like, oh, that's how it works. And then
yeah.
And then the worst thing is, I'll be in the middle of a conversation and I'll fucking say it. Then someone will look at me like I'm a fucking idiot, which I am. It's fine. And they'll be like, you pronounced it wrong. I'm like, nah, it's fine. Just fucking roll with it.
Yeah. Words are there.
Words are hard.
Well, it's important to note about Summerville. Here's what we know about Summerville. And these are people who live in Georgia. We are from Georgia. They're known for having one of the only railroad turntables in the United States.
I watched a lot of Thomas Tank Engine, so I know what that is.
Right. And they have a folk art museum that's fairly prevalent. But it's one of those places that you can kind of drive through and you pass through and you don't think anything of it. However, it is the site of one of the most gruesome murders of the 20th century in Georgia. And so that's why we wanted to talk about it, is because it's very interesting. And now let me put it in perspective. This is our first part of this episode. Or a series. We're going to be talking about the history of Corpsewood Manor, and then hopefully with the weather being better next week, we will be actually going to Corpsewood Manor.
Yeah, hopefully it's not fucking Satan's armpit outside. God damn.
Speaking of Satan's armpit.
Yeah, that's why I
Here
said
we
it like that. I was
go.
like, fuck. I'm wearing a linen sweater and I'm standing outside waiting for Angel to open the door. I'm like, I'm fucking
I didn't even know you were out
you're
there.
fine.
And Becky called and was like, there's a well-dressed metrosexual man standing outside your door.
Well, to be fair, I did the whole thing where you go, ding, ding, ding. She might have heard me. She might have not. It was for my own entertainment because I'm fucking weird, but I'm wholesome as well.
I was seeing if I could find details on what went on in the sex dungeon. I wish I hadn't.
Oh, okay.
It's some kinky
Have you
shit.
ever been? I've been to a legit sex dungeon. It's you haven't lived till you've seen a man in a gimp suit, what's it called when the whip on the back, the small one, the crop? Mm-hmm. Yeah, cropping himself. It's a trip.
Maybe
I
we
used to
need
work
to
at a sex dungeon.
maybe we need to
I know.
explain why all of this is in context to
Yeah,
this murder
yeah,
mansion.
yes.
So Becky's obsessed with sex engines.
No. No. Anyways,
The flying biscuit is just a misnomer. It's actually the name of a sexual move.
I'm so glad we're back.
Same.
So glad.
It's like a fart biscuit.
Gee, oh god.
Oh, okay.
Because it got stuck and it had to fly out.
Yeah. Or they leap up like, everybody was kung fu farting. Where were we?
We were talking about a murder.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm glad we're back.
Yeah, let's bring it back. Rein it back in, kids.
Bring it back now, yo.
This is what it is. It's just you talking about cropping people in a sex dungeon. It's mostly like whipping them back into like shape. Stop. Just
Told
listen.
everybody you were obsessed with it.
Anyways, so such for some background. In 1976, Charles D. Scudder, who was a professor from Loyola University in Chicago.
Yeah, he was a pharmacology
He was a
professor.
pharmacology professor, and this will play out later when we explain kind of the context of his profession, I guess. He decided that for his 50th birthday, he was going to leave Chicago because he was getting tired of living there. The way he described it is that he felt like he just couldn't take it anymore, that his home was turning into what was quote unquote an urban ghetto, and that he was tired of paying electric bills, gas bills, and
Light
living within
bills,
like
property taxes.
right, the modern society. And he just wanted to go back to a time in which you lived very simply.
So he's just a fucking libertarian.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's also noteworthy that he did government experiments for the government. He was assistant director for the Institute of Studying Your Mind, Body, and Health.
Oh.
Right.
But as it pertains to psychedelic drugs.
Oh, it's like
Right.
MK Ultra and that kind of
And that's kind
Pretty
of
much, yeah.
I mentioned it later, but he was kind of an odd individual from people who knew him. They did describe him as somebody who was considered very brilliant, polished,
Yeah.
soft-spoken, but confident. But he was known for dyeing his hair
Purple.
purple and
He had a
different
pet
colors.
monkey.
He had a pet monkey. Yeah.
Is this about you, Angie? Because it sounds like a lot like you, minus the pet monkey.
He even joined the Church of Satan just to see what it was about.
Nice.
So the thing is, like, he was also known for we talk about pharmacology and we're talking about mind-altering experiments. He used LSD. It was a lot of use of LSD.
Yeah,
and you got to
70s.
remember, in the 70s, contextually, they were doing a lot of experiments with LSD at that time. However, at that point, when he turned 50, he had decided that he was ready to be done with living the grand lifestyle of living in Chicago.
Sure.
So him and his partner, Joseph Odom, decided that they were going to move to Georgia. And they purchased what was a 40-acre parcel located right outside Chattahoochee National Park.
And also he had just came into an inheritance, so he had a monthly stipend. So they could just take what they had. He gave away all of his possessions. What he couldn't sell, he just gave away. And they sank everything into building this property because they knew they would have this income.
Must
and
be
keep in
fucking
mind,
nice.
they didn't have electricity or heating.
Yeah.
Right. So it was only $40,000, which it's a lot of money even in this time, but it was probably just a little bit more. But what they did is they lived off of a few $100s basically a week, and they built what would be Corpsewood Manor brick by brick.
Yeah.
So they built the entire house. The first thing they built was the first floor so they could move into it, but they were living out on a camper up until that point. They also had several outhouse buildings, but no electricity. They had a water well. They had a chemically powered outhouse. So, they didn't have running water, so no toilet. And then they had one of their outhouse buildings was a chicken house that had where they stored their food, their chickens, and then what they called their pleasure room.
Yeah, their drugs and their booze was out there.
Yeah.
Poor chickens. Like, that's a lot of shit
They seen some shit, those poor
Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah.
Look at all these chickens. I'm just fine.
Well, the thing is, with them, you have to also remember contextually what time we're looking at. It's 1976. They're both homosexual men living out in the middle of rural Georgia.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about Corpsewood Manor is that since it was on a 40-acre parcel out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt, there were a lot of people that ended up coming through the property itself. So you would have a lot of hunters who would be coming through the property, just regulars.
And would just ask to hunt, and they were really well liked in their community.
Yeah, and I mean they grew their food. They they lived everything by candlelight and kerosene lantern. It was like they were just old country folk living out there with their 2 English Mastiffs.
And Scudder had originally joined the Church of Satan, and it was like of the Anton LaVey tradition, where it's just atheists and hedonists, because he wanted a hedonistic pleasure lifestyle, and he was an atheist, and that's really what the Church of Satan is. They don't go around devil worshiping. They have symbols and iconography, which he liked, but
the ones that actually do the Satan bit are Luciferians, right?
Right.
Cool.
And he also joined because there's no admonition in the Church of Satan against homosexuality. So in that religion, he was free to express himself. And it actually came in handy because there was a sheriff one time showed up, tried to arrest them for being homosexual Satanists, and he was protected by religion. So it kind of is like he knew what he was doing there.
Yeah, and if you want any more information, we did an entire episode about Lucifer and like the different, it was a very small context to it, but we did talk about Luciferians versus Satanism.
Yeah.
So you can always check that out. And, this is also in the midst of the time. So we're building this up. I kind of want to talk about them first and kind of get the brief picture of them and then what came out later after what happened to them.
Sure.
So you're looking at, in their historical time, you have the Satanic Panic is pretty much a thing going on. And here's the thing. Between the years of 1976 to 1982, when these murders happened, there wasn't a lot of reports about them, other than what Angie said, that they were trying to be arrested for homosexuality. They didn't really get involved in anything that was criminal activity other than what you would assume was homosexuality. Sexual pleasures that people would probably think were very strange at the time that all of this was going on.
True.
It's also important to note, though, this is from allthat'sinteresting.com, because a lot of this stuff is it's older, even though it's from the 80s. There wasn't a lot of information out in the public that was like certified information.
Sure.
But it is important to note that when they did move to Corpsewood Manor, he brought 2 human skulls, 12,000 doses of LSD.
Holy shit.
It was his work, so.
Yeah.
He also brought his 2 English Mastiffs, both named Beelzebub and Arsenic, which is one is named for a demon, the other an H.P. Lovecraft character. this is an interesting local legend I found too, is that they also believed that they were summoning demons to protect the house with their dogs.
Because there's a lot of kind of urban legends around the demon they summoned, and even he would make fun of. They had a hand painted sign he'd made that said "Beware the Beast," and then they would put "Beware the Thing" all through their house. And there were people who reported seeing this a like 8-foot tall, glowy green-eyed thing, and one of them was a local witch in the area. She was also ostracized for being a witch, and he had a really big problem with the two of them because he said that they were not
respectful.
They actually did summon this demon.
Probably.
And the demon continues to this day.
Oh, sweet.
Well, they also brought, when they moved to this home, they also brought various Gothic paraphernalia, which included those skulls that he had swiped and a pink gargoyle that he had brought from his old mansion.
That pink gargoyle is badass.
I know.
It's amazing.
Can we steal it?
It's probably already gone.
Yeah. But to think about it, he brought it from his old mansion to his new mansion.
Sure.
So it's not like he was like, I'm going to build a house and it's going to have gargoyles.
Yeah.
I just have gargoyles.
And he was a fantastic Gothic artist, and he made a stained glass window of Baphomet.
Oh, dope. Like the whole, whatever it's doing, the finger pointing bit.
Oh, and also noteworthy, on his Jeep, he had painted 2 white pentacles. But he painted pentacles, not pentagrams, which is interesting.
Right. That's very different than like the pentagram, which people kind of relate back to Satanism. He also said that he thought Corpsewood Manor was more like a mausoleum, a tomb requiring care, cleaning, and endless costly repairs. Because, think about it. It's not professionally built. He built it from the ground up. So you got to know it's not heavily insulated. It's not a house in which you're going to buy it and you're going to be guaranteed like a builder's like certification or whatever. You built it by hand. It's not going to be probably the safest place to live. But he did write in Mother Earth News back in 1981 this article about how he was just ready for country living, and that there's something about getting away from like the urban areas in Chicago to being able to live out in the rural areas, which kind of cool if you think about it. He just wanted to kind of live out the rest of his life very simply and kind of out of the way in what he,
and able to love his partner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was cool, but the thing is when you have, and I'm not faulting him or them for what they loved and what they were into, but sometimes when you have those kind of values, and I got to also think about it's from 1976. People wouldn't just invite people onto your property anymore. It's not a thing. It's kind of what led to his downfall.
And he would actually send out invitations inviting people to their orgies. Like you would receive a formal invitation.
That's
to
classy.
the pink room.
I mean, back then they didn't have group messenger and shit.
There was a guest log book where you would sign in like, Bibby, my predilection is to have my toes sucked while my hair's tickled. Like,
yeah, and this is from an and it's an article in the lineup. They talked about it fairly extensively, like that the room was painted entirely pink, and that they had like mattresses and chains and all of this.
Yeah, ball gags.
Yeah, and that you have your sexual predilections.
Yeah,
it's your guest book. You sign in, which I'm just thinking of this like fancy tome, like you just like write with like a quill. It's like, Bibby, I like hair products and girls. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And they also that's where they kept their pornography
they made
as well.
Homemade wine, and
oh, sweet.
so people would come over to partake of their homemade drugs because they made this stuff called Toodaloo, which was like varnish.
It was paint
thinner, varnish, and like glue.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And they called it Toodaloo.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you'll fucking say goodbye and die.
I guess you toot it and you got to go to the loo. I don't know.
Well, that was the thing, and I was looking it up. You can't really find a lot about it, but apparently that was a rural Southern thing too. Is Toodaloo? I'm
not fucking surprised.
When I ran away when I was a kid, I was like 14, and I was a teenage runaway for a few months. One of the people who we would go to his house at night and eat there, and he would he had like different concoctions. So he would have like toilet paper roll, and you put tissue in one end, and then you pour gasoline in it. And I remember they'd put glue in it and other stuff, and then they'd sniff it through that toilet paper roll. So it's probably Toodaloo, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
it probably is, because I think it's still going on, and that's very prevalent because it's cheap.
Well, and that's still, even in rural areas where we live, that you hear people talking about like siphoning gas to sniff it and do all that kind of stuff.
Sniff, whippets.
Yeah.
God, I love the South.
Well, if drugs are illegal, You just make your own drugs out of legal stuff. That's how meth was created.
True.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to what you said, decorating with Gothic stuff. He was an artist, and he did have a lot of satanic imagery in his house and occult imagery. And one of the things that will become pretty interesting later, I'd like to talk about, he had a painting of himself with his hands tied behind his back, a ball gag in his mouth, and 5 gunshot wounds in his head.
Oh.
And he told everybody, this is how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is the craziest part of the story.
Yeah. And I think you got to take into context, like, looking at it from his perspective, like, maybe in his head it's like such a morbid looking thing. You kind of want to portray this morbidity or whatever. But the fact of what happened to him later, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you gotta kind of wonder, did he do something?
Well, because his last words were, I asked for this.
Right.
So.
Well, let's talk about the actual murder. But like,
well, you said self-fulfilling prophecies, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of was.
Foreshadowing.
Even he acknowledged it.
Yeah. So, back in 1982, it wasn't uncommon, especially in Georgia, to have hunters come across Corpsewood Manor and request access to the land, which, I mean, even to this day now, you have a lot of people who, if you have a big parcel of land, you might let people who come across your land to go hunting. And they would allow that, and then they would entertain them with wine and treat them with, very cordially.
Sure.
One of those individuals ended up being a 17-year-old guy named Kenneth Avery Brock. And some had speculated that he might have become sexually involved with the men.
Well, it was admitted when they did their police interviews. They admitted that he did.
Well,
that Scudder performed, Scudder performed oral sex on him.
Now, was that during Avery or Brock's police interview, or is that from Scudder telling? Because I think
no, it's from West's interview. He said when Brock moved in with him and convinced him to go, he refused to. He would do the free drugs, but he refused to take part in the homosexuality sex. So he said when Scudder would homosexual Brock perform oral sex on him, but he called it homosexualing him. He would leave because he wasn't into that, and a lot of people think it's because of West's absolute disgust that Brock turned, because he started feeling ashamed of it.
Right. Now, and this is the thing. I was trying to look up old court records of this, and it's very hard to find. I guess it's 1982. A lot of stuff isn't preserved online very well. The problem with what I found with it is that these are statements that they made after it happened, and it kind of was in defense of why they did what they did. Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. The other part is that some of the rumors were that he had wanted to have sexual contact, but they had rebuffed him because, they weren't interested. But Wes was like clearly a homophobic, very homophobic. Mm-hmm. And this was his Brock's roommate. So at that point, regardless of the nature of their relationship, the beatific lifestyle the couple enjoyed led to Brock to assume that they were actually quite wealthy. So it really was more so that, hey, you know what? Maybe we can rob these guys because they have a lot of money, which if you knew, everything historically now, they did not. They had sunk their entire savings into
Corpsewood Manor.
Yeah, Corpsewood Manor itself. And I mean, hello, you're living off candlelight and like a chemically powered outhouse and chickens. Are you thinking that these people are like super wealthy? But, that's sort of,
well, and
that
another
idea.
thing that led to people thinking they were exceptionally wealthy is Scudder owned a huge golden harp. Oh. It was like his prized possession. So when you see stuff like that in people's houses, you do kind of think that, hey, maybe since they left the world, they've got all this money stashed here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you think about it, this is more of a very sheltered place. It's not like these people were living out in the middle of like metro Atlanta.
Even $5,000 would be considered wealthy.
Yeah. So in the winter of 1982, Brock had moved into the trailer home with Samuel West and had told West about queer devil worshippers and were believing hoarding a fortune in their isolated estate. And so the pair hatched this plan to rob these two and start a new life. So that night on December 12th, 1982, basically they set their plan into motion. So they picked up a rifle from Brock's mother, which they had said they were going to use to hunt rabbits. They also picked up Joey Wells and his date, Teresa Hudgens, who would be these two would be very important later in the investigation.
And by the way, they had no idea what they were getting into. They thought they were just going over to socialize because they did all the time.
Right.
Gotcha.
So on their way out to the secluded house, the quartet huffed a combination of alcohol, paint thinner, and glue, which was the Toodaloo. Upon their arrival at Corpsewood, everything had started out fairly normal for, a group of people being out in the middle of nowhere in a room that was designated the pink room. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were greeted warmly by Scudder, and all of them climbed the 40-foot ladder to the pink room, which that's even creepier to me if you think about it. It's like you have to climb up basically a ladder. And I saw those pictures. It's not very big.
It wasn't very big.
Yeah. And where they sat drinking and Scudder and Odom's homemade wine. Before long, Brock went out to the truck, supposedly get more Toodaloo, and he returned carrying the rifle. And that's then what happened.
So they get there and they're all like just talking, having a good time, partying. The two guys, they're used to people coming over, and they're also know these guys. So when he goes down and he gets the rifle, he comes back and he goes into the house where he sees Joey in the kitchen with the two mastiffs, and he kills him. And then he shoots the dogs. And when he walks back into the pink room, he goes up and Scudder sees him and jokingly says, "Hey, bang, bang." Like, still doesn't get a clue what's actually happened. But neither does Tina and her boyfriend. I can't remember his name. Teresa and the boyfriend. So he takes them and he basically, West and Brock then take Scudder, and he realizes some shit's up, as do the other two, and they try to leave, but the car won't start. So they're stuck there and forced to witness what happens. So they take Scudder into the house and they show him Joey's body and tell him, we're going to do this to you if you don't give us all your money, basically. Yeah. And he's like, I don't have any money here. And he takes them around and they ransack the place. Of course there's stuff there. So then they take him and point blank, West shoots him in the head 5 times. Exactly like the painting says. And before he died, now, Brock says that he cursed the county to never prosper. Mm-hmm. And then said, I asked for this. And then West shot him. But the thing about cursing the county, we don't know that.
We don't know anything. This is all like the statements and accounts made from their from the defendants in this case.
Right. But the chick said, they all confirmed that his last words were, I asked for this. Which, what interesting last words.
Yeah. It was such a strange set of circumstances because you have two people who have absolutely no idea what's going on. And Teresa Hudgens and Joey Wells would end up working with the police in the investigation.
Well, he took her after that. After they finally, they tried to take the Golden Harp and tried to force them to take it down to Scudder's Jeep. It wouldn't fit. So when they left, Joey took Teresa and held her captive for 2 days. He didn't want her going to the police about it.
Right.
But she escapes and shows up in the police station on the same day they killed the other guy.
Yeah.
And says, I escaped from my boyfriend's house and I've got some shit to tell you. Mm-hmm. But that's also the day that a neighbor discovered the bodies of the two men because they were dead 2 days before being discovered.
Right. I believe that they had said that a neighbor had been walking through sort of the area and noticed that there were gunshot wounds on the doors.
Yeah. Apparently he went to tell them about a mutual friend that had died in Rome, Georgia. And when he got to the house, he noticed gunshots through the door.
Right. Because you got to think about it. I mean, how many people are coming through this area on a regular basis? So probably if not for the fact that this person was coming to actively look for them, it could have been weeks before anybody found them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing about what happened after that is Brock and West with Hudgens and Wells for however long they had them. They went. They were trying to figure out where to go. So it was either Florida. They talked about going to the Philippines, which how the hell are you going to get to the Philippines if you don't have a passport? Whatever.
Yeah.
But they end up going out west toward, and the first thing they do is they go into Mississippi, rob a lieutenant of the military.
Right, because at this point, Teresa's told her story. Mm-hmm. There's an active nationwide manhunt. They need to ditch this Jeep with white pentacles on it. Yeah. It's pretty obvious vehicles. So they come across the...
he's a Navy lieutenant, yeah.
And they're going to take his car. And unbeknownst to Brock, West has already decided to kill this man.
Yeah, so they kill. His name was Navy Lieutenant Kirby Phelps, and they stopped at a rest stop near Benivia, Mississippi, with the intention of the intent was to just tie him up and take his vehicle. But while Brock was unloading the Jeep, West shot him twice, and then at that point they split up. Brock voluntarily surrendered back to Georgia on December 20th. Well, West did the same in Chattanooga, Tennessee on Christmas Day. Now, my understanding from Brock actually is that he actually ended up calling his mama at some point when he got back to Georgia, and he called the police and said, I'm just tired. I did murder them. I just don't want to run anymore. Because at that point, you have a manhunt. There's no getting away from it.
You kind of sober up and you're like, what the fuck did I do?
Right. I mean, you're high on like paint thinner and alcohol.
And then he drank wine and took LSD. Like, I'm not excusing it, but there's a lot of shit going on that just completely messes your mind up.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
The big thing was that there was a huge media circus surrounding these murders. And like I said before, 1982, what are we in the midst of?
Satanic panic.
It's everybody's playing Dungeons and Dragons and they're summoning demons at this point.
Like that Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah, that was totally accurate. That's what we do when we play D&D.
Nice.
But, being openly gay and also being interested in the occult, they were easy targets to say, okay, these guys didn't do anything wrong. They were just being held against their will by these devil-worshipping queers.
Yeah. Yeah. Who they're saying, I took advantage of this 17-year-old. And then the West says they were devils and I took care of it, which of course makes people believe they were doing the Lord's work.
Right.
No, that's not taken into consideration. They were there doing drugs and all sorts of shit and had actively participated in the orgies before.
Right. And the thing about, like, we talked to, you said it at the very beginning about the Satanists, this Abrahamic religions aren't really well known for being actively sexual.
Yeah.
So that was really more so why they were so into Satan. I mean, Scudder was a well-announced atheist, if anything. He wasn't like he wasn't a Satanist trying to, but back in those days. And you have a place called Corpsewood Manor.
Yeah.
You're going to be thinking.
Off of Dead Horse Road, all their animal sacrificing up there.
Right. So, they were easy targets. And Wes said, all I can say, and this is from Crime Feed reports, all I can say is they were devils and I killed them. That's how I feel about it. And both of them were found guilty. Brock received 3 consecutive life terms while Wes was sentenced to death.
But they almost got off.
Really?
Yeah.
The people were it's such a small, like, jury of their peers. Like, it's a small pool there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think if the couple hadn't have been so well known and liked, probably they would have been.
Right. And I would be curious. I kind of wanted to look at the transcripts from the court proceedings to see, like, did you move venue? They didn't. A lot of times that's what you do whenever you think that there's going to be a jury taint, which I guess they didn't think that was going to be a thing. And then just to see what their arguments were. I mean, I understand, like, objectively, we know that they were doing all of this stuff because when the sheriff's office got there from the went to investigate the murders, they found all the pornography, they found the occult symbols, but the only account you have that they were actually doing any sort of devil worshipping or anything to the extent.
It's just urban legend.
Well, not even that. It's like defendants who are trying to get off of a murder conviction.
Yeah. There's no proof that they actually did any ceremony or rituals. I mean, they would joke about the demon they summoned, but when you think about people of that intellect and where they came from in the city, it's probably was fun to them to say shit like that to the local, hillbillies.
Right. And they thought, ooh, the spooky couple living in the
like,
woods.
You see the look on his fucking face when I said I summoned a demon? Like,
yeah.
I can see.
And here's the thing. If they really were summoning demons, they should have summoned better guard dogs because, let's be honest, English Mastiffs,
yeah,
they ain't good guard dogs.
I saw a picture. One report said they were bull mastiffs, but when I saw the picture...
They're English Mastiffs.
But they weren't tall like English Mastiffs.
No.
So... I'm curious what
as an owner of a bull mastiff, I don't expect her to protect us at all.
It's so sad to me that they were so cold because remember there's no heat. They were both killed around
a little hearth.
Yeah, they were trying to keep warm, but like your owner just got killed in front of you and you don't even move. Like he was shot 4 times.
Yeah,
I'm not even talking about the guy shot 5. They shot Joey 4.
They shot Joseph. Yeah, Joseph Odom 4 times.
And then they go in there and shoot one dog and the other dog still doesn't think there might be a problem. I should probably bite somebody at some point.
Now, fam, we get down to it later.
Yeah. But then the fact, it is kind of eerie that everything went down the way it did. And Scudder died of 6 gunshots total. And like you said, it's not insulated. No. So he had to have heard it. So when he comes up, he's still like, hey, bang, bang,
Yeah, he's drunk off his ass. I mean.
Yeah, he thought he was just farting around the gun.
Which, you know what, they might have done that before. Yeah. You don't know the context of their relationship with these people.
Well, and he said, the way he would tell people, this is how I'm going to die, it's so symbolic, like hands tied behind his back, he can't do anything. Like he's got the ball gag in his mouth, like he knew he would be in the pink room. Yeah. And then he's shot 5 times 5 times in the head. So it's just also
Well,
I can see how like the stories got out that something was.
and you know it's
strange.
You know what's crazy is you kind of think about this, and if we didn't say what year this happened, you would think like 1920s, 1940s, maybe even the 1950s. But this is the 80s.
I still think it happened today because people are still that idiotic. Look, we're still fighting racism.
Right.
Like, times haven't changed, just people have gotten better about hiding how bigoted they are.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, my point being is that you don't really expect people to be going out living in the woods with just with no electricity and no Wi-Fi anymore. You know what I mean?
No, that part, yeah.
How do you go on Netflix and chill?
They didn't have a telephone. Who are these people?
But these men are still behind bars. And if you think about it, I mean, this was 38 years ago that this happened.
Yeah, the parole's been denied repeatedly.
Yeah, this guy, Brock, he was 17. He's only 54. So he spent most of his life behind bars because of this.
Sure.
Yeah.
You earned it.
Well, I completely agree with you about it.
Especially the Navy guy.
Yeah.
This guy did nothing.
I think they probably would, in my personal opinion, they probably would have been convicted if it wasn't for the fact that they tied up somebody who was a Navy lieutenant.
Yeah.
And killed him.
Killed him in cold blood.
Right.
Like, you could say drugs and past history for these people, and maybe you would have gotten a lesser sentence, but to kill an innocent, like a decorated Lieutenant Navy. Right. I said Lieutenant Navy. He's Lieutenant Navy.
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. Well, the crazy part is that up until I think a few years ago, you could actually go visit Corpsewood Manor itself. However, it's been burned down.
Well, somebody burned it down a month after the murders took place.
Right.
But it was still like a big foundation.
Yeah.
But then people over time have taken bricks, which, by the way, we got to get into that.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk the spoopy shit next. This is the shit that why we're going.
And then it mysteriously burns again after there's been repeated sightings. And like, I think it was These Woods Are Haunted went out there and caught the huge shadow figure.
Oh, wow.
And got the cold spots and EMF. Was it These Woods Are Haunted?
Yeah, it's These Woods Are Haunted.
There were a couple of paranormal investigators went out there and caught a lot of shit. And so much is on camera and is seen in... you said we're going to get into spooky stuff. I don't want to talk about the other stuff.
Well, we'll get into the spooky stuff.
The spooky stuff. But you can take... A lot of people have taken bricks and stuff. But the one thing that's left... So, Bobby, I don't know if you could tell from the pictures. They had the house.
Yeah.
And then they had what do you call it? A gangplank.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like a castle, a drawbridge.
Oh, yeah.
That would go over to a gazebo.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how you got into the house. So they could lift it up if they needed to. Like, it was a legit castle. And then the gazebo had these points, and then a pink gargoyle sat on top.
So there's nothing left of the foundation.
There is foundation.
The gazebo.
You can see like the gazebo. You can see like the walls.
archway.
But we can't go.
And the outhouse.
Yeah, actually, no, you can't.
Oh, dope.
So check this.
Yeah.
It is privately owned, but the law enforcement is very well known to let people go and visit as long as you're respectful of it.
The owner said they don't mind if you go out there. They're used to the pilgrimage and.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot of people who go out there who are especially like urban, what do they call them?
Explorers.
Urban explorers and different people who like to explore. I Yeah, so you can go out there and you don't really need, as long as you're respectful of the property. That's really what they're worried about. But the thing is, the reason why people go out, not just because it's a murder location, which, let's be honest, there's a lot of people get murdered around in Georgia, but it's because of the alleged paranormal activity, which is why Angie has been excited about going out there. So, Angie, do you want to explain your paranormal love of this place?
Here's the thing. The 8-foot-tall demon figure that they say was summoned, some people think it's actually more like a goat man, which if it's a goat man, I'm running. You and Bobby find your own way home. I'm out.
I'll be fine.
You better keep up.
You guys haven't seen my final form yet.
Oh, sweet.
Bobby
is the fucking goat man.
Yeah.
And
I was
this
thinking,
whole time.
I think but I picture him turning more into like a centaur with good hair. And like he fights him because he has 4 legs. Yeah, like that. And he's like neighing.
Yeah.
That's how Bobby fights him.
I might stop running to watch this. I might turn around and be like, this is some bullshit.
That's how you get away is you ride on Bobby like
that's
horse
how
body.
I run into a fucking tree. Because I'm going to be laughing, running, and scared. Like, I think Bobby's a fucking centaur.
No, I want to be a satyr.
Is he
Oh,
gelded?
a satyr. Yeah.
No, I'd be like, is he gelded?
Oh, my God.
Where's his balls in that form?
They go inside
And then suddenly he has to stop because he has to poop.
Ooh,
Yeah. He'll be like, wait, what is this? His tail lifts up.
Goat man's like, the fuck?
Someone's like, I'm out.
What's
You
that?
can't shit in the middle of a fight.
It's that gun from Red Faction, where it's like the fucking unicorn gun, and I just shit. Instead of like a rainbow, it's just like a stream of shit. That's how I defeat him.
Oh my God.
Bobby
Well,
turns
now-
around.
Bobby, I'm going to need you to get on the Seder machine before we go out to this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this thing. There's also the sounds of barking dogs. But here's the thing I don't believe about the barking dogs. They didn't move.
Yeah.
They didn't move from the hearth, and we know mastiffs don't bark.
Well, and on top
They
of it, you're-
rarely bark. We have a mastiff, and she does not bark.
well, only if you like are like, oh, you better tell her. Oh, you better tell her.
Or you bring a Starbucks and don't get her one.
Exactly.
At that point, you're gonna
She
get bitched
basic.
Well, and the whole dog thing is there could be someone fucking hunting.
That's what I was about to
That's
say.
a dog.
You're still out
Yeah.
in the middle
Yeah.
of Nowheresville, Georgia, and a 40-acre
Mhm.
parcel. You think that people
Yeah.
aren't out hunting?
So I don't know if I believe dog barking
Yeah.
bullshit because we know mastiffs aren't vocal,
Mm-hmm.
and they died without putting up any sort of resistance because that's what a mastiff does.
Yep.
Like we talked before about Riesling, and please don't break in my house and try to kill me, people from Summerville, because I called you Hicks. Because Riesling would just be like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like the UPS lady opened the door one time and she grabbed a bone and ran and hid. Like this is the level of bravery
Well,
of these
to
dogs.
be fair, you might not have a Riesling to protect you, but you have like one cat that will
oh,
beat
I
the
have
shit
a
out.
cat
Yeah.
who would claw your face off.
She is a vicious pussy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. This place will be fun. It's our first real trek
Right.
to a spoopy spot.
And you can sometimes hear the harp.
Ooh.
And there's some other stuff I can't remember, like cold spots. Did you write it down, Becky?
And we'll be able to fucking tell about
Well,
cold.
Gunshots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they heard a lot of gunshots as well. See,
Hey,
this is why I
Oh, we
write things
shouldn't have-
down.
But we shouldn't have said it so we could see if, like, Bobby goes into it not knowing.
That's fine.
And if Bobby's like, do I hear a harp? I'm running.
yeah.
Well, here's also the big thing you have to remember about this place. You cannot take a brick from it.
Yeah.
That's the big
Yes.
one.
That's
I
fine.
almost said it's corpsed. Oh, God. But people who were taking it as souvenirs ended up bringing the bricks back because...
cursed or something.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not about bringing anything back from a cursed place, even if it's not even if it's not cursed. Why do you take a risk?
Yeah.
I just think it'll be interesting to go out there. Now the thing is, to get out there, you have to actually, it's like a 15 to 20-minute walk
Oh,
from
that's not bad.
from your car to the place, because you're walking in the middle of the woods, and it could take longer depending on the foliage and if there's any down trees or anything like that. Because this is just a random dirt road.
So there's like no straight path.
No, it's an
Oh.
old logging road that
That's-
has been
Dead
abandoned.
Horse Road.
Okay, well I'm strapping the Doc Martens on then.
Yeah.
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 And I mean, it's gonna be a little bit of a trek, but it
It's
will be
fine.
interesting. There's different kinds of markers you can see. There used to be 2 like pillars you could walk through, but I don't think they're there anymore.
Yeah, the pillars, I think they said in May of 2019, they were knocked down. Like,
Aw.
who does this
And they were
stuff?
graffitied on. It's like you.
Yeah,
People are
can't-
shitty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
But there are people who come out who take care of the property. So
Oh, cool.
if people
Mm-hmm.
come out there, they've planted trees and all of that different stuff to kind of keep the property still habitable
Mm-hmm.
and able to kind of remember what happened, because it is, as much as we're joking about all of this stuff, it was a gruesome crime. It was not something that these people deserved, regardless of what you believe in and whether you agree with their
No,
lifestyle.
They didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were out in the middle of bumfuck wherever.
And I still also believe that Scudder was continuing to do his social experiments with LSD because
Oh, I'm sure.
he never took the drugs.
Yeah.
He said that he would never take LSD because he doesn't want to spill all of his secrets. And he said LSD brings out who you are as a person. And unfortunately, it did bring out.
Well, and you got to think on top of it, like, I'm not excusing what happened, but like, you have a 17-year-old doing drugs, alcohol, illegal narcotics, or anything like that. Their brains are still developing.
Yep.
So what
Yeah.
they think is a great idea immediately
Yeah.
might not necessarily be the best
Especially
idea.
when you're doing something like LSD, which makes your id, like, right? Your id, your dominant personality, and your id is just like, be in the moment. Do it.
But I think LSD also makes you violent. Like, if you hallucinate
It
enough.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on your mood and such, but yeah.
Right. Well, think about it. You're already huffed up. You're thinking about
Yeah.
robbing these people.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why you don't mix a cocktail.
And West has convinced him that he's been severely taken advantage of,
Yeah.
sexually by Scudder at least. He never really said Joey did anything to him, but he said Scudder, Which is funny that I remember Joseph's nickname Joey, but I can't remember Scudder's first name.
Charles.
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 Charles and Charles.
I'll tell you, I really thought that this was one of those. No, it was Fatal Frame. That's the video game. Fatal Frame, where they had the murder mansion in Japan.
Yeah, you get to take pictures of the ghosties.
I really thought Angie was just making up this place like as a thing. And I mean, they did
Fatal Frame was probably based on this.
Yeah, in some part. I was like, it reminds you of that or like a location out of fucking House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Corpsewood Manor. It sounds like fucking.
I mean, you've set yourself up for weird shit to happen at your house.
Or it sounds like a place in Skyrim.
Yeah, or Fallout 5.
And there's no actual reports of anybody devil worshipping at there, but people come up with.
Kids are crazy.
Well, and you get urban legends.
Yeah.
Like, that's how
and
legends
there
are
an
created.
Excessive amount of reports about the 8-foot-tall shadow figure with the green eyes. Hunters in the area reported it. Like I said, the witch refuses to go up there. The haunted, these woods are haunted people call it something like that. They could see the eyes, and they ended up trying to run away, and it chased them. And you can hear the footsteps chasing them, but you can't see it. And then remember, they got to the creek, and they couldn't see what was chasing them, but then a foot hit the creek, and they're like, oh, shit.
What do you think the shadow figure is going to do when I square up on it? He won't be used to that shit. Like, boy, just turn around.
He'll probably ask for good hair advice.
Yeah, I'm going to have my curb stopping docs on. I'm like, boy, I'll kick you in the dick.
We also need to remember we have made this a rule because Bobby was like, well, what are we going to do if it gets late? And Angie was like, oh, we're going at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
We're going in broad daylight.
It's going to be broad daylight, lots of light. And there might be other people there.
There is a part of me that wants to go at 3 a.m., but this is hillbilly country, so I'm less afraid of the Shadow Man demon
and more people.
Than the people.
And also, it's different than us going to, like, the farm or the bridge because like it's the terrain's fairly simple.
Yeah.
Woods, you could be snakes and shit. You know.
Yeah. It's
or a Sasquatch or a burr. I don't want to be mauled.
Well, and plus we're not familiar with the area, so it's very easy to get lost.
And it's a goddamn trek too.
Yeah, it's not like we're just walking walking into our backyards, being like, "Let's go ghost hunting."
This is how we get the Blair Witch the fuck lost and end up, with our nose in a corner because we're gonna get lost if we go running from some shit in the middle of the night.
True.
Meanwhile, like Bobby's in the corner, but we're like, "Oh shit, Bobby's possessed," but it's a little mirror and he's fixing his hair.
Yeah.
If I look over and Bobby's got his nose in a brick, I'm running.
Angie's just running regardless.
Well, I'm always so brave until we do this shit, and then I'm the first to be like, we gotta go.
I did mention that to Angie the other day, and I was like, you're the first one to be like, let's do this, and then suddenly, like, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
To be like, we gotta go.
Oh, but we in the daytime will be fine. Fuck it.
And here's the thing, Atlas Obscura made this fairly clear, and anywhere you look it up, that there's probably other people who are going to be out looking as well, because they're just interesting. But I want to, like, make this a series where we talk about something and then go out. Like, so maybe next time we could do Stonehenge in Georgia.
Oh, Georgia.
Yeah, I want to do that for
Where
sure.
Where is that?
It's south. It's like...
it starts with an E.
Etowah? No, that's north.
It's
it's near the old
So like is it Georgia Stonehenge?
It's southeast.
It's just the guidestones, right?
Yeah, it's the guidestones.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm down.
But there's like a lot of legends about that too. Even though there's like Abrahamic religious stuff on it.
But the owner did say he has stopped people. You have to contact him directly. So let me get in touch with him.
Yeah.
And just double check
just make sure we can come out there. But that to me is super fascinating because nobody knows who erected that, and you can't get into the time vault until the time is up. And I agree with the rules on it.
Yeah.
Oh, the guidestones? Or
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we were talking. I got confused. I thought we were talking about Corpsewood for a second. I was like, fuck.
Oh,
well,
No.
It's very exciting to be back with you guys.
I'm
Hopefully
excited.
we don't have to do Zoom for a little bit unless we're doing interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to go. I'm hoping next week the weather's good and that we can go and check it out.
And I'm really trying to get an IRL backpack put together so we can live stream the walk-in stuff.
Hopefully there's internet. That's the only thing.
There won't be.
No.
We don't even go to the mountains and have internet.
We'll have our GoPros and stuff like that. And
I'll film on my phone.
Yeah, we'll take pictures and
we're
stuff.
going to bring the spirit box and the EMF detectors. And I'm trying to get infrared.
Yeah.
Dope.
So we can look for cold spots and shit in the trees.
I'm digging you down. It'll be fun.
It would be funny if this is how Angie finds the Sasquatch.
The Sasquatch.
You know what? I was thinking this is probably where I would see the Sasquatch and think he's a goat man and just ruin everything.
Or think it's a Shadow Man or something.
Yeah, I'll be
not Sasquatch.
Or just think I'm not really seeing something. I'll be like, I'm not even seeing
Meanwhile,
that.
he's like, hi!
He's like, hey, were you looking for me? And I'd be like,
You were mind speaking with me.
Meanwhile, I
Yeah.
just close my eyes and run.
Can I also point out that we always do spooky shit in the middle of June? This is always our
Yeah.
thing.
Well, because I love being outside.
Well, yeah, it's the weather's
Yeah.
better.
It's not goddamn cold.
Yeah.
But it's goddamn hot instead.
So yeah, that's true. I'm excited. Hopefully next week we'll hopefully have some video and some audio to present. If anything, we'll just say, hey guys, we found nothing, but it was a really nice walk. Check out our website. You can check out what we see.
Speaking of our website, Becky, where can they find us?
Oh god,
Nice segue.
Yeah,
that was a
right?
really good segue.
It's been a while, y'all.
It's been a while. You can find us on Facebook at The Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Free Rotation. We're also on Instagram at The Free Rotation Podcast. You can check us out on Twitch and YouTube at The Free Rotation Podcast. Twitch, it's The Free Rotation, whatever. We're on Weeby Geeks. Check us out over there.
And Spotify.
All the great other podcasts on WeebyGeeksPC.com. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple. I got it mixed up. Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher,
Google Pie.
Google Pie. And you can check out all of our backlog at thefreerotation.com. And, hit us up if you ever have an idea. Oh, we have a Discord. I got an actual Discord made for us that you can join.
And it is active. So join.
Sexually active.
But you can check it out. It's actually on our Twitch. If you ever want to do it, just go in and type in !Discord, and there's a link there, and you can join our Discord. We talk about, you can hear us doing D&D Fuck, which is our live stream for D&D. And you can also post pictures of your cats and your animals, and then you can join us playing Valorant.
And any podcast ideas, you can, if you know of a spooky place.
Yeah.
Pretty local. Like, keep it to Upper Florida, Alabama,
I mean, we can
Tennessee,
also
Carolina,
totally do an episode
Georgia.
about the hanging grounds too. That'd be dope.
I was just thinking
that's
that.
super close too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of local lore where we live, surprisingly. Question mark?
Can we do one about Booger?
The Bell Road Booger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This is the year to do it. I mean, they found the treasure, so we got to find something else
No,
to do.
because I know one of my coworkers actually saw Booger.
See?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like way long ago.
And I think it was like a week and a half ago, down where we did our spoopy hunting down by where Moreland lived. Remember
Fuck
where
that
we
place.
were? There were a sighting of 3 dog men.
Oh,
'Cause remember,
shit.
it's not the Belk Road Booger and stuff. They're like
Was it 3 Dog Men or 3 Dog Night? Because they're very different.
it was
Stay
3
the
dog men
night.
at night. So, but yeah, so they've been spotted again, and apparently they're very active and violent.
I heard
shit.
they live 3 doors down.
Oh.
We're back, baby.
We're back with our bad shit. Okay, guys.
What is the Lincoln Park 3 seconds to midnight or something?
30 Seconds to Midnight?
That's 30 seconds to Mars, right?
Yeah, that's the band.
yeah.
That's Jared Leto's band.
Yeah.
I like
Mars
it.
Volta.
Minutes to midnight.
Minutes to Midnight.
We'll just
yeah.
say 3 minutes to midnight.
Sure.
You know what?
Zero Dark 30. Perfect Blue. Upload. I just
Are we
naming-
just saying words?
play Valorant.
Poop.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.